When I was a young man, I wanted to change the world. I realized it was difficult to change the world, so I looked at my nation. I couldn't change my nation, so I turned to my town. And when I realized I couldn't do anything about my town, I looked to my family. Now, as an old man, I realize that the only thing I can change is myself. And suddenly I realized that back in the day, if I had changed myself, I would have probably impacted my family. My family would have changed something about our town. My town could have helped change the nation. And I indeed could have helped change the world. I know what you're thinking. Did he just start this TEDx speech with a motivational quote he got off the internet?
Yes, I did.
Motivational quotes are like the stuffing in my paratha. Now you know a little bit about my lineage. One of the most frequently questions I get asked is, are you Ranvijay's brother? Yes. Real brother? Since the day I was born. But you guys don't look alike. I'm sorry to disappoint you. But it doesn't stop there. My father retired as a Lieutenant General from the Indian Army 2 years back. His second last posting was in Israel and Syria as the UN Force Commander. During the beginning of the Syrian crisis, he helped rescue over 180 soldiers under his command that were kidnapped by terrorist groups linked to ISIS. He's one of the few army officers from the Indian Army who's had the privilege to speak at the UN General Assembly. And then there's my mom. She's a 7-time national basketball player from Punjab. She's a school teacher, a poet, and recently she published her second Hindi book poem. So as you can see, I suffer from something I call SIP, self-inflicted pressure. Nobody's pressurizing me in the world except for myself. I'm always thinking, how do I match up to their achievements? How do I do it? Look at where they are. Look at what I've done. Most of the things in my introduction have only happened in the last 2 years. So for the first 27 years of my life, I had come to believe that I am the black sheep of my family. My name is Harmanjeet Singh Singha. I'm an actor, a writer, and recently turned producer. But what's more interesting is the things that I'm not. I'm not a merchant navy cadet, because the first profession is usually wrong. I'm not a reality TV show creator. I am not a guitar player. Couldn't do it. I'm not a film actor, and I'm not a film director. I can actually define my life a lot better by the things that I'm not than the things I am. I am not religious. I'm not violent. I'm not racist. I'm not classist. I'm not even sexist. And I'm definitely not an ageist. And I might get into trouble for the next one. But I'm not patriotic. I believe at a visceral level that I'm a citizen of the world. I belong to everywhere and nowhere at the same time. This duality is everywhere around us. Heaven and hell. Good and evil. And the one that really tears people apart, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. By definition, equilibrium is a state where opposing forces are balanced. So when I wake up every day, I wake up in two distinct modes. The first I call a very scientific term, I hope you can catch it. It's called cheesecake. I wake up uninspired, I feel lazy, I don't feel like going to work, I feel unproductive, I don't want to talk to my parents, don't want to talk to my friends, and I just want to hide in a corner, and my only friend is Netflix. Do you want to meet Mr. Cheesecake? Bam! At 23, I weighed 125 kgs. I was diagnosed with a permanent blood pressure problem. I wasn't doing too well. At 23, to have a blood pressure problem and being told that you'll have to take a pill every single day of your life is not the kind of thing you need. Though professionally, I was still doing all right. I was one of the youngest creative directors on a show called MasterChef India, a thing that I had worked really hard for. But personally, I was suffering. I was emotionally cold, unavailable to my people. I was unfit, and I was pretty sad. And on one day during shoot, I got a little angry. And a small argument between my director and I led for me to pick up the headphones and throw it on the control panel. And I walked out of the set saying, I will never do reality television again. On top of that, a couple of weeks later, I suffered the most serious heartbreak I've ever had. A girl I was in love with wasn't in love with me. Does that ever happen? Jobless, obese, and upset. I had no idea that the next project I take will change everything. I was assisting Nagesh Kuknur on a film called Lakshmi as his chief AD because of my background in logistics working on MasterChef. And for the first time, I witnessed the beautiful world of fiction. I had come from a mad world where I'd done shows for MTV, Channel V, Star Plus, and all of them were reality shows. So there were 200 people, 20, 25 cameras, contestants, judges, and it was just so much chaos. And suddenly I went into this team of 25 people, hardworking, dedicated, all trying to achieve a beautiful dream. It was silent, it was precise, and it was the most rewarding project of my life. I could see for the first time words from a script come alive in front of me. As soon as my film shooting finished, a friend of mine randomly asked me, do you want to go for a trek to the Himalayas? I was like, yeah, I mean, why not? I could see there was some shift in my head. Little did I know that he meant trekking across the Zanskar Valley, which starts about 10 hours ahead of Manali, and you have to cross something called Shinkola Pass, which I thought is like a Lonavala ki pahadi. And you almost reach the end next to J&K border. It's a 12-day trek where you have to walk at least 16 to 20 kilometers every day. The first 3 days, I can't even describe the pain. The terrain was tough. There was ice slopes. There was random rocks just falling, just for fun. And I really felt like I couldn't breathe every 10 minutes I was stopping. But there was no other way to go. You just had to keep walking. At the end of the third day, for the first time of my life, I felt what rock bottom actually feels like, physically and emotionally. And all I could keep thinking was what Alfred said in Batman Begins. Why do we fall, Master Bruce? So that we can learn to pick ourselves up. I apologize to Mr. Michael Caine if he's watching. Of course he's watching. On the fourth day, I woke up in pain, but I was smiling. I didn't know why I was smiling. The clouds hadn't cleared. The terrain was still tough. It was getting cooler as we were walking up. But I think for the first time, somebody came to the party. And that thing was my body. My mind and my body had a conversation. And they said, we need to team up, otherwise he'll die. Simple. Survival. Very, very, very basic. And that's the first time I felt mind and body equilibrium. I started walking faster every day. I started feeling lighter. I started feeling healthier. I almost felt like I can do this regularly. Our brains are not equipped when we are born. Amongst all the animals, we're probably the ones who are most fragile. We can't really see much when we're born. We can't walk. And we can barely communicate. It's not like there's something wrong with our brains. The reason is that our brains are not hardwired, they're live-wired. They actually work on the basis of information being put inside them, and then the brain starts figuring out what to do with it. This happens through our sensory organs. This happens through our 5 sensations, which now have actually moved to some 18 or 19 sensations. And this knowledge is very important for us, because what we're taught in school and colleges is a complete lie. I was about to swear. Then I realized फिर YouTube पे नहीं जाएगा. So what we're taught in school and college, just for fun, I'll show you another fat picture. I forgot. What we're taught in school and college is completely unscientific, and it's a lie. Our thoughts do not shape our actions. It's in fact quite the opposite. Our small habits and our actions can change the way we think. And this is not just some philosophical mumbo-jumbo. This is based on the current research on brain plasticity. I'm sure you guys are smart enough, you've heard of all of these things. But it has been proved scientifically that we can physically change our brains through very simple techniques, like focusing on our breath, meditation, making us more mindful, and a little more self-aware. Which brings me to the end of this trek, where I started to realize that a change is imminent. But like I told you, I was looking for some motivation. Where do I find motivation? Who's the Baba do I follow? Who am I looking at? Is it my family? Is it my parents? Then I found a Baba that I really liked. This Baba's name is Rocky Balboa. Best Baba. Not Sylvester Stallone, because that man did Rambo 4, so I hold that against him. But Rocky Balboa. Very simply put, he says, it's not about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. Simple? I was like, okay, let's try it. Because I wanted to move forward. I was badly hit, but I wanted to come back hitting harder. In the next 8 months after that trek, I started to lose my weight continuously and then rapidly. I wrote 2 screenplays, one of which I got a chance to direct as a feature film. And I had started slipping into the second state of my mind that I like to call Spartan. This is 1.5 years after the trek. Then, now, slight difference. In this frame of mind, I started feeling a lot more connected. I felt like I was there for my family. I was not emotionally unavailable. I was a better friend. And at the end of the day, I started finding out what I really enjoy doing. So I started reading all the possible books on screenplay writing there was. Because I realized the reason why I hated most of the content that came out of our television and our films was the writing. If people wrote better scripts, we would have better content. Simple things, simple rules that can change in a big way. So I started writing, and 2013 turned out to be a beautiful year. Because in the same year, I got a chance to direct a film that I'd written. It was called Love Ka Hangover, in which I wanted to break all the popular myths about love in Bollywood. Do janam, do jism ek jaan, the one, love is forever, it's only one person. I wanted to trash all those popular beliefs. And at the same time, I got cast in a film called Mango as an actor. Completely unplanned. Just the fact that I was losing weight and I was working for somebody who was directing the film. Completely by chance. But neither of those 2 films ever released. The film that I was directing got shut down midway during shoot. The film that I acted in actually finished completely, but it never released. The difference this time was that I didn't hit rock bottom. I enjoyed failing. And I didn't even consider it failure anymore because I was learning new things every time. And I realized you can only fail at things that you're not good at. If you were good at something, you wouldn't fail, which means there's elements of fear, there's unknown territory that you're entering, which obviously means you want some form of change in your life. In the Spartan mode, I'm driven by 3 simple questions. Who am I? What is my purpose? And how will I impact the world? I would encourage you to actually take out your phones and pens and write this down. And it's actually a brain exercise. You think by thinking about this, something will happen, but you're actually doing the physical action. Starts a subconscious process in your brain. Your brain will do the rest. Don't worry about it. Your conscious actually comes in the way of how beautifully your subconscious can work. That's why people talk about meditation, mindfulness, and self-awareness. So what do? You need to start unlearning things. You need to start taking out the unnecessary information from your mind, because it will only bring you closer to what you really care about. And at the essence of things, you care about very few things, very few simple things. But when you start decluttering your mind, and this is by simple tactics, there's a saying that says, repetition is the mother of skill. If you want to build a skill set that people will pay money for, first of all, realize that. Otherwise, it's just a hobby. If you want to build a skill set that people will pay money for, you have to keep doing it regularly. And at some point, you'll start falling in love with the process and stop worrying about the result. Coming back to information and how information overload led to us finding a very beautiful concept. My partner and I kept talking about the fact that internet knows everything about you. It knows the dirty pictures that you're sending. It knows about your private accounts. It knows about the investments you make. And it shares all the communication between you and your loved ones and the people that you work with. Now imagine a scenario where the internet decided to go against you. And this was the gem or the birth of the concept for a show called Aisha, My Virtual Girlfriend. A show in which I play an app developer who creates an AI in the form of a virtual assistant. Imagine a Siri with a face and a body, but much smarter. The challenge in writing this character for me was the fact that nobody had ever written something like this. First of all, it was science fiction. So, sabne bola, rehne de bhai. Brands nahi aayenge. Audience nahi aayenge. Because that was a popular belief. Our only examples were Mr. India, which is 20, 25 years back. Post that, apart from Robot, I think we've only had Ravan and Love Story 2050, and I don't think Chamak Chalo really paved the way for path-breaking script writing. So here I was sitting alone with my computer, because writers actually dwell in solitude. That's where they thrive. And I had this challenge of writing something that's relatable, but at the same time, I wanted to step away from the common beliefs that make content for the masses. I hate that word. Make content for the masses, make it for the lowest common denominator. Consider your audience is sitting in Bilaspur, Lucknow, Bhopal. I don't know why they keep rattling out these random states. It's not like actual statistics. A lot of people in popular television and film consider reaching out to the maximum people as the most important thing. I believe if you tell stories with some form of reality and some form of integrity, and you actually go into the finer details of what makes us human, you can find stories across genres that will work for different people. That's what happened with Aisha, My Virtual Girlfriend. Over 2 seasons, we received about 11 awards all across the globe. We won Best Series in LA, Best Actor, Best Director in LA. In South Florida, we won Best Series. And guess what? The same people who said brands nahi aayenge, koi nahi dekhega, were in love with the show. They said that we couldn't imagine something like this happening, and the challenging part was writing the character of an AI. I'm going to end the speech with just a few more motivational lines, which come back to my belief system. It's very important for us in today's age, where there's so much happening, where we feel like the world is on the edge continuously, be it war, be it political tension, be it religious tension. It's important now to not stand on the sidelines and understand with some form of depth what is right for you and what is wrong. And don't go out lashing out on people. Nobody else can make a difference to your life. If you want to change something, started from within. And before I go, the last thing is, when you write, the stories you write may or may not affect your life. But the opposite is true in almost every case. Your life has to be there in every story that you tell. This is a small exercise for you guys. My journey was from being a cheesecake to feeling like a Spartan. I hope you guys can do the same. Enjoy yourselves. Thank you so much.